positive response on with the P90 Plus. So that was really the buy-in for me, and that gave me the opportunity to really dig deeper into the technology and do some research and things like that. So.
Okay. Well, you have the mic there. Thank you for sharing that. Let's transition into the first question. So how was this technology first introduced to you?
Actually, it was my wife. Trisha Costa is my wife. So she's actually the one that
I didn't know
actually...
she was here.
Yeah, she's very quiet. But actually, that was really my first exposure. And then once I became aware of the technology, I realized that there's a lot of clinics in my area that were actually offering the EMF. So then I'm like, I guess this is not something that's brand new. Something that's out there in the community.
Dr. Green, how were you first introduced to Owl Life? And we'll go down. I just want to hear how you were first
One
introduced.
of my clients who brought her son to the brain program and he had great results, she pestered me for at least 6 to 8 months, and I know it all, so of course I said, this isn't anything, I already know EMF, and bless her heart. She didn't give up. She didn't get a no, because I'm always open. But I think it was really God himself who get me on the head and said, wake up. And so I said, hey, let me look at this. But it was just the right time in my life. And I'm so glad I did. Thank you, Harry.
Dr. Harhart?
Yeah, so I think, well, I actually got introduced to it very early on, I think about probably 2 or 3 years ago. There was the original units came in, and I had a friend of mine who lent me one, just a P90, and he let me have it for like a week, and I was like, yeah, that's pretty cool. But then when I got the call from Justin, who works with Ricky, he's like a dear friend. He's like, you really need to connect with Ricky. And as soon as I met him, it was like, we're off to the races. That was it. It was this like an explosion happened in the clinic.
Thank you. Glad.
Well, initially, I was introduced to PEMF probably around 2010, but it was so expensive. It was not something that we could think of having because we've always worked kind of under the radar and didn't have a clinic situation. So spending that kind of money, $10,000 to $20,000, we thought it was amazing, but it wasn't affordable. So a few years ago, around July 2023, when my husband had that situation, and one of our friends thought that the P90 might be helpful. That's the first time I really saw the Ollie Life device, and I was really impressed that they had made something so powerful and with so many abilities affordable. And even though at that time it wasn't exactly what Randy needed to move him forward to detoxify from venom and the anti-venom and then more anti-venom and then all the medications, it was helpful, but it wasn't the deal. And so I did continue to use it and show it to my clients, but it wasn't until more recently when they came out with the P90 Plus that I really got excited about all the different abilities of the claw and then the wand, as well as the galaxy goggles and the shaken belt.
So I was introduced to Ollie Life through a client. So Justin at Just Hope, he had a client who was in a pretty dire straits, and whatever was happening just wasn't working for her. So she somehow ended up finding out about my wellness center, and she was driving 4 hours one way to come and receive treatments at my center. That didn't last very long, unfortunately, because she came to me at a very, very severe state, and she could no longer make the drive after a few weeks. So she went back to his center, and he called me, and he and I started talking. And because he wanted to know where I left off in terms of her treatments, because he was going to pick up and things like that. So it was through the series of conversations that I was having with Justin that, on one of the conversations he said, by the way, and Justin has had his clinic for 13 years, I've had mine for 3. I'm a newbie in all of this, you guys. And he said, I ran across a device that is out healing everything that I have seen in the 13 years of me having my clinic. You have to check this out. And then he sent Ricky over, and you guys know the rest.
Ethan?
Awesome, it absolutely is outperforming everything. Okay, so I think I've been with Ollie Life longer than anybody else in the room. Before it was even here, I was already recommending and getting the product. But it started with a previous device, which Ricky, who was on earlier, and I were involved with, which was just terahertz, not PMF. And we were getting amazing results with terahertz, no PMF, just terahertz. When I heard about Ollie Life, they were only in Asia, and they were using the same terahertz technology, but with the addition of PMF. So I was super excited about that because I knew what terahertz did and was doing. I also knew about PMF. I just thought combining the two sounded incredible. So I got in touch with Ollie Life through contacts and said, can you open in the West? And they was, we're not ready, but they agreed they would ship product. And so for the first couple of years, I was with no support, nobody spoke English. I was just getting product from my clients as a practitioner only, no networking, no team building, no information in English, no video, nothing, but products that were just absolutely stunning and outperforming everything I'd ever seen. So that's how I got involved.
Fantastic, thank you. All right, I do have another question I'd like for each of you to answer, and then we'll get to some questions where you can decide if you want to jump in or not. But as healthcare professionals, what criteria do you go through as you're evaluating wellness technology that a distributor or someone's introduced to you? How do you go about deciding if this is a fit for you, your practice, your business, the clients and patients that you serve? You got the mic?
The microphone's in my hand. Okay, so I think probably everyone in these chairs would agree that what we're going after is root cause. So whereas doctors typically, or medical doctors typically, are looking at suppressing symptoms and trying to relieve them, we're looking for what is the cause of this symptom, and will this or that help with the root cause? And so one of the reasons I believe that we see such phenomenal results with all of these devices, the P90, P90 Plus, Wand and so on, all of these devices are dealing with some foundational things that help our body to operate the way that it should. And as I've already mentioned in the earlier comment, one of those things is the blood. Your blood is critical, and a lot of people, their blood is not operating the way that it should. You're seeing all the pictures before and afters of the sticky blood and what have you. The blood is under attack from many different ways. And so these products really help improve the state of the blood. They do a lot of other things. I don't want to make it like one thing, but that one thing for me is the most important. If you can get delivery of nutrients into the cells, if you can get delivery of oxygen, hormones, immune cells, water and so on into the cells, that's going to make a huge difference because you are your cells. If your cells are not healthy, then you're not healthy, much like a battery. People have spoken over this weekend about being a human battery. A battery has cells, and if your battery has a lot of dead cells, your battery ain't much use. Well, we can equate that to ourselves. If you've got a lot of cells not functioning properly, so if these frequency combinations can help empower your cells to function properly, that's going to change a lot of things, and that's why I think these are so incredible.
Fantastic, thank you. Helen?
Don't
Yeah,
love
Mr.
this
Governor.
accent. I can just listen to you forever. So how I make my decision in terms of what products do I purchase and what do I pass is, first of all, I would love to buy everything because everything sounds really amazing initially, right? But how I make that determination at my center is, well, let me tell you guys a story. So most of you guys, or many of you guys might be familiar with the Beamer products. It's a PEMF mat. So the top grossing salesperson at Beamer is one of my clients, or used to be because he moved to Idaho. He used to come very, very regularly into my E-System room. And he tried so hard to sell me the Beamer mats. And he's like, come on. And he's even telling me, if you buy a couple of mats, it's anywhere from like $6,000 to $12,000. You can put it on the chairs, you can upcharge, and he's telling me how to do my business. And I'm like, and I knew about PMF, I did want it, I just, I always go with my intuition, my gut feel. And finally, I said to him, and he's a lovely, lovely person. And I finally asked him, I said, hey Greg, why do you come here if the Beamer mats are this amazing? And he said, well, and then I about prostate and what you men go through, for those of you guys who have prostate, in terms of the stream, and I, like from him, it's like, well, it's not helping me with my prostate situation. So the way that I determine that, make that determination is, so what I ended up telling him was, why would I get something that doesn't work any better than what I have now? And I don't care what it's called. I don't care if it's called PEMF. I don't care if it's called SCALE. I don't care. If I have something that works better, why would I want to get something that's inferior? And I'm not saying anything bad about Beamer. If you haven't used it, it's incredible, okay? But I had something better at my center. So if I find something that works better than what I have, that's the determination. And of course, funds. I have to have the funds to do it.
And then came along Ricky. What?